Autumn has descended on the streets of Hanoi. Autumn days are chilly and making the heart race. I am sitting on a stone seat in the park with my dad, lost in the pleasant dreamland of Hanoi's fall. I instantly remember the fall of 4 years ago when I was a student and how it taught me a lesson that I will never forget in my life. I am the only daughter born into a poor family of 3 people. Although my family was not wealthy, the house were constantly filled with joy and laughter. My father is 50 years old and is a family-loving man. He's worked hard as the family breadwinner to provide the best for his family and not to let me fall behind my friends. My mother only stays at home to do housework since her health is not good, and she's also the one who constantly takes care of me. My parents also gave me the lovely name, Princess, a name that sounds noble and rich, which is unusual for my family background, but I absolutely adore it.
Princess comes here to have dinner with us. Did our princess have fun at school today?
I became accustomed to this colon and imagined myself as a true princess. To be honest, when I was younger, I had no idea how bad my family situation was. I just lived happily and without worry. I passed the entrance exam for a top-notch private university when I was 18 years old. My parents were overjoyed, but expensive tuition fees and living expenses was always a source of concern for them. But because they didn't want me to worry, my parents stayed quiet and worked even harder to help pay my tuition. My phone, clothing, and appliances were all extremely simple and inexpensive. So I was very envious when I saw all the students' expensive stuff. I chose to remain in the university dormitory for convenience, but unfortunately, I encountered some nasty dorm mates. They were rich girls, and therefore they looked down on me. At that time, I was very self-pity, since my joyful life in the past had vanished. It was all about money. It turned out that my previous happy existence was all a result of my own delusion. How could I be happy without money in this society? I grew to hate the name Princess, which I had been so proud of. I was so embarrassed by my name that I once told my mom that, "Mom, please don't call me that. The princess should reside in the beautiful palace, not the 4th-level house." My parents became emaciated as a result of overwork, and the atmosphere in my family was very clumsy and tired, and I imagined that if I had money, my parents wouldn't have to be so tired. One late afternoon, I roamed the crowded streets of Hanoi, lost in talk about my own destiny. When I came across a sign that said, "Requesting restaurant staff," I decided it was time for me to do something to help my family get through this terrible circumstance and to achieve the happiness that I had drawn in my mind. My parents were surprised and strongly opposed. They just wanted me to concentrate on my studies, but I refused to listen. If we have money, our family will be happy, and we will escape the poverty, and people will no longer look down on us. At that time, my mom seemed to understand that I was blinded by money. And due to my hard work, I was promoted to restaurant manager. But the work piled up to the point that I could not attend school anymore. So I decided to reserve my study results, and my parents did not know about it. I barely went home just once every 3 months since I was so busy earning money. I still sent enough money to my parents, but I didn't have time to visit them anymore. I was drowning in the meaningless money.
One morning, while I was at work, I heard the bad news and my father's phone call. "Hun, hurry back here immediately. Your mother has terminal cancer, and I need you to come back here to see her, or else safe home." Hearing this, my limbs were weak, panicked, and speechless. I hurriedly handed over the shift to another employee and took the taxi back home. When I arrived home, there was still a familiar voice. "My princess is back. Let's go home." My mothers were happy. I hadn't seen her this excited in a long time. The next day, my mom had to go to the hospital for a checkup. That night, I stayed with my mother, and we lay cuddling and confiding in one another. I haven't touched my princess for a long time, and this is the sweetest moment of my life. Time flies. You used to help me to sleep when you were a little child, but now you grew up as a tall girl, so you can't do that any longer. But you know, you can't help me forever, princess. I attempted to hold back tears rolling down my cheeks. I wish I had realized sooner what true happiness is for my mother, and I wish I had had the opportunity to take care of her more. And then, 1 week later, the worst day came. Terrible cancer took my mother's life on a late autumn day. I couldn't believe that one short week would be the time when I felt as joyful and carefree as I did as a child. That moment made me realize that money cannot buy back pleasant memories with my mother, and my mother's health could not be purchased with money.
My mother's life is difficult for her family, like a towering tree, like a silent soldier. My mother enjoys cooking for my father and me, and she frequently wears items that I have worn, whether they are appropriate or not. But it was not until yesterday that I learned that the person who loved me the most in this world had left me forever. This is very difficult for me. No one will ever care for me as much as she did. I'm sorry, Mom, but I really miss you.
After 2 days of grief, my father and I returned to our lovely house to reorganize my mother's stuff. When I entered my parents' room, I was surprised. Obviously, I had sent a lot of money back to my parents to make the room more decent, but the furniture in the room remained unchanged. The torn bedsheet, the ancient TV. Because your mother refuses to throw these things away. She said these items have been used for a long time since you were tiny, and because we miss you so much. All these things all have warmth, and your hand have touched them, my father said. He sobbed and wiped his eyes. We still store your money you sent back neatly in your closet. I understand money is necessary, but for elderly people, family love is more vital than money. Princess, princess, what are you thinking? This voice pulls me back to reality.
No, Dad, let's go home now.
In the autumn of my 18th year, I experienced the most difficult part of my life. The innocent and heartless princess seemed to have grown up. I decided to return to school to study. My father and I continued to live through the stormy and sunny days, making up for my mother's remaining life. Money is vital, but having your children by your side to share and trust in, even if there are troubles and haggles sometimes, is still better than dressing beautifully in a cold and lonely house.